What's up, guys, and welcome back to the podcast. My name is Robbie Cassidy, and in today's podcast we are going to discuss, does posture make a difference? Okay, and I want to talk about, does posture make a difference when it comes to rehab, or when it comes to an injury, or when it comes to, in general, looking at your body? Should you have perfect posture, or is that a bit of a tall tale that people have a perfect posture? The reason I want to jump into this is because even now, with pushing things on social media a lot, you'll still see lots of conflicting opinions on what you need to worry about when it comes to posture and how you need to look at the body. So I'm going to basically throw my 2 cents at it and let you know what way I think about it, as well as give you some takeaways as towards what affects your posture. Is it a problem? Should you change it? As well as why posture is thought to be such an issue as well. Okay. And hopefully by the end of this, you'll have a better understanding of, in your situation, is it something that you need to change, or is it something that you're okay to carry on with? Now, to jump right into it, I guess is probably the best place to start, is why is posture thought to be such an issue? And this is something that's really common, and I'm going to do more podcasts on this about looking at the body in a mechanical way, and how in some situations it can be very effective, and other situations it actually can be detrimental. So in this way, when you look at posture, or why has it become such an issue, is because when you look at it mechanically, it makes sense. Okay, if you look at your rounded shoulders, if you look at a forward neck posture, well, surely if there's a forward neck posture, that's going to add more weight to your neck, and I've seen that every 3 degrees or 5 degrees that it comes forward, or 3 to 5 centimeters it comes forward, it adds an extra, I think 4 or 5 pounds, something like that on the joints. So there is that side of things, and the old way, the traditional way of thinking is that you need to address these mechanical issues, or you're not going to make long-term change with somebody. But the more that they looked at it, and I guess how that initially came about was that years and years and years ago, when they were really developing medicine and developing the practices of physiotherapy and movement practices and rehab practices, I guess the easiest way to look at things is what you see is what you get. And they looked at the body like a machine, like Industrial Revolution, even after that stage. And if one kink in the machine was off, that means that everything else would be in trouble. And that's generally the way it's thought about even today by a lot of people still. And looking at the body that way is reductionist, in that it's so much more adaptable than that looking and saying that, okay, that person has an anterior pelvic tilt, that means they're going to have back pain, that means they're going to have shoulder pain, they're going to have neck pain, and their joints are going to degenerate, their hip joints are going to degenerate because it's putting too much pressure on one side of it. Now that is an extremely mechanical view, and if you look at a machine, that's how a machine would work, is that if one or two things aren't running so smoothly, what will happen is things will start to break down. They'll either break down at the area or up along the chain, and that's why that idea, I guess, kind of came into health and came into the health space. But what it does is it eliminates any possibility that the pain that you're feeling, the issues that you're having, are related to anything else in your lifestyle and not just the mechanical. Now, in a lot of situations, in a lot of sporting situations, there is mechanical issues there. And what I mean by that is if somebody sprains an ankle, you'll find that the muscles behind your ankle bone, so your peroneals and that, they will start to take over to stabilize the ankle. If it's an ATFL sprain, it's the most common one at the front of the ankle, they'll take over to stabilize while the ligament heals. And a lot of the time you can start to get pain there. Okay, and sometimes if you're running, you can get knee pain, or you can get Achilles pain. You can get different areas that will kick up after that initially, okay, within the first week, 2 weeks of it. And the reason is because there's been an acute change in your biomechanics, a very quick change in your biomechanics, and as a result, the body has to adapt to that. So there's different pressure being put on joints, different movements. You're moving completely different. You're walking different. Your gait changes. Everything like that. It all ties in together. Okay, because it's acute. And then you can look at it mechanically and say, all right, well, I can see the kink in the chain is here, and up along it there's these other issues. But the only thing is that, let's say, for example, that ankle never healed fully. The ligaments in that ankle never healed fully, and you were left without the ligaments in your ankle. Does that mean that you are going to have pain in your body for the rest of your life? It doesn't, to clear it up. It really doesn't. And the reason being is that the body will adapt to this. The bones will remodel, the muscles will get stronger, the tendons will get stronger, other ligaments will start to take hold, and it will adapt, and you'll be able to functionally do what you have to do once you start to train at that. Okay, so the body doesn't need to work perfectly. It doesn't need to work like cogs in a machine. And if I'm honest, it's actually something that I used to think a lot as well. Up to a couple of years ago, it's something that I really, really pushed. I was always looking at things mechanically. It needs to work like this, and it needs to work like this. And unless everything's in line, they're never going to get better. That person won't get better, or that they're always going to have issues down the road. Okay, that is the way I used to think about it a lot. And the bad thing is that by portraying that, or by putting that across, you will notice that people will pick up on that, which it'll change their beliefs, and then they will start to associate certain issues with the posture that they have. And once your beliefs and attitudes start to come into play, then things really change. So I guess what actually affects posture? If we look at this side of things, you'll get a better idea of when it can be an issue and when it's not an issue. Well, posture itself is going to be affected by a lot of different factors, okay? And some of the main ones that you would expect are like your genetics. You can look at your makeup, your bone structure, everything like that. They will all play a role, definitely. But then all the other ones that people don't take into account that may play a role is your environment, injuries that you've had, the lifestyle, your mindset, all of these things, your confidence, your composure, everything like that comes into play as well. And to break it down, when you look at your environment and you look at the people you hang around with, especially your family, most of the time, a lot of women will walk like their mother or a role model who is a woman, and a lot of men will walk like their father or a role model who's a man. Okay, and that's not direct correlation. Obviously, there's going to be changes, and there's going to be other things mixing around, and in different situations, you're going to act like different people and stuff like that. But that's the way your posture is in a lot of situations. Is you saw somebody walking with a bit of a limp, and it was someone you really looked up to, and then slowly but surely you start to pick up that posture and you start to adopt it. Okay, the people around you, your friends, all of that can have a huge impact. Okay, and if you don't take that into account, it's funny, if you actually watch people in their friend group, a lot of them will walk the same, and when they're with them in school, but when they go home, they'll change, and they might walk differently when they're home. Okay, when they're around their parents. Or what about when they go into a situation that they're not confident? How does their posture change then? And you can look at someone's posture who's not confident in a lot of situations. In a general sense, they'll make themselves smaller. So they'll turn their toes in, they'll drop their shoulders down in front, their head will tuck underneath, or their chin will tuck in, I should say, and they'll make themselves as small as possible. And that's confidence. That's not their posture that's like that. That's not their posture that mechanically is like that. That's their confidence in that situation. But put them in another situation where they're with a group of friends and they're the alpha in that group of friends. Then they're going to stand up taller. Shoulders are usually back a bit more. Chest is out a small bit more. Wider space of support. They stand up a good bit stronger. That there has a direct relation to the people that they're around, the environment that they're in. Okay? So confidence is a huge one. And the example that I always use is like, if you look at McGregor, let's say Conor McGregor, and you look at the way he stands as tall and as wide as possible, with a wide stance. And that is obviously it's a confident stance, but I can't imagine that's a posture that he's always had. Maybe it is at times, but I know from watching him over the years, as he got into things, it's changed slightly. As, let's say, he's gone through Cage Warriors and into the UFC, and that it's adapted slightly, and you can see he does stand up a bit taller now, and he really stands with the chest out. Okay, it's definitely something he pushes more. Now, other people who may follow McGregor and who really like McGregor and the way he stands will start to walk like that. If they find if he is their main role model, and you see it a lot of time with young kids who watch him, they will then start to walk like that. Okay, because they've picked it up. So that's another huge one. Is those role models and your family members and people around you are how you adopt certain postures. Now, once you adopt a posture, your body will adapt to it once given time. Okay, it will adapt to it. So everything will change around that. Your muscle length and strength, your joint range of motion. Over time, bones can remodel because of it. Okay, all of these things will change to adapt to the posture that you're in over years now. I'm not just saying overnight. Okay, and that's why an injury can change your posture, because it's an acute thing that changes overnight. You don't have the ligament in your ankle anymore, so everything else starts to take over instead, and your body will adapt to that. But when it's over years and years, your body has kind of restructured itself very slightly. Restructured is a strong word, but it reorganizes itself to be able to hold that posture optimally. Okay, so obviously injuries affect posture, as we know. Your lifestyle, if you go to the gym, think about when you finish up at a gym session and if you do a big heavy back session and everyone gets ILS, then that imaginary lat syndrome, where you walk and your elbows are pushed out to the side and you have this big huge, or if you've done a big chest day and you stand up real tall, or if you've done a leg day and you start to stand with your legs apart and you walk with a wider stance, they're all adopted postures. Okay, and sometimes in that situation it's because of you obviously have muscle, but or you have the bulk. You have a bulk basically after what is the word for it? You have a pump. That's what it is. Sorry, you have a muscle pump afterwards, so you're more likely to kind of show that muscle, and you'll change your posture because of that. So you need to take those into account. Okay. Now, why did I go into that bit of a tangent on it? Is because really and truly, like, there's so many things that affect posture, and if you don't take them into account, you'll just be looking at the mechanical effect and how this changes the way you live and the way you go about your day. The last one that I want to touch on is fatigue. So fatigue could break any man or woman's posture, even if they have the strongest posture in the world. And if you think about yourself, if you're in work and you're sitting at the desk and you're tired because you slept poorly last night, or you've a lot of training done that week and it's Friday, you're going to be in a slumped posture with your head forward, and you're just going to let the body hold itself up, basically. Okay, and now that is a different. Now, to kind of get into the depth of it, is posture something that you should change? Is it a problem? Or is it okay to go about your day the way it is? Now, in general, posture isn't something that you should change. Okay, it's not generally something. It's not the first thing that you're going to look at. Okay, no matter what they all say on Instagram, and about all the people who look at things mechanically, and even all the trainers who say that you have to lift a certain way and you have to do that, and you have to have a perfect posture, and you have to have certain ranges of motion and have certain prerequisites before you can go into movements and all that. No, that's bollocks. Right? You don't need to change your posture. Okay? Once whatever posture you've adapted to is going to be good for you, you can change it if you want to. Okay? That's something that if you feel that, all right, I would prefer to look more confident and stand with my shoulders back, do that. Okay? Stand up tall with your shoulders back. That is the kind of military way of walking, and it's a military way of looking. And it actually, and I did a podcast with David Gray on this, where we talk about that posture closes off your lungs at the back a lot of the time. So is it an optimal posture? Maybe not, okay? But if you're in that posture that you're closing off at the front, a lot of the time people become neck breathers, and they use their accessory muscles around their neck to breathe. So I'm kind of going off course, but what I'm saying is, if you want to change a posture because of the way you look, perfect, there's no problem. But it's going to take a small bit of time for your body to adapt to that and to get used to it. Okay? Now, if you're looking at body language, if you're looking at being more confident, then perfect. I think it's a great idea. And if you're looking at being more mobile and more strong, if you're looking at being mobile or strong, then you can start to adapt into certain postures that you may need, like if you want to do an overhead squat, okay, everyone doesn't need to be able to do a perfect overhead squat. If you'd like to do one, you need to practice getting into that overhead squat position and staying in it. Okay, simple as that. So you need to practice that posture. You're not going to get it the first time. It needs to be consistent practice over time. Then the exact same goes for if you want to get that confident posture, you need to practice it. Okay, you need to get into it. You need to be able to hold it for a small while, and then you need to be able to, I guess, hold it in certain different environments that you go into. So in that confident posture, when you go into a bad area, or if you go into an area that you're not confident in, are you still able to hold that posture? If so, perfect. If not, then you need to work on it a small bit more. But it is something that needs to be practiced if you want to practice it. Now, I would say that if it's a significant change in your posture that's happened overnight, let's say a car crash or you've had an injury and your posture has changed because of that, well, then it's probably right to look at correcting it to what it was originally, or if you even wanted to, you can improve on it, okay, to something better. But going after and picking out, saying to somebody, okay, you have back pain because you have an anterior pelvic tilt, not true. Saying that you have flat feet and that's why you have knee pain and back pain, definitely not true. Saying that you have rounded shoulders and as a result your back is going to be sore because it's putting it into more of a rounded position, not true at all. If your neck is out of line, not great. Your hips are offline, another big one, not true at all. They may look offline, but that doesn't mean that you need to change it right there and then. There's probably other issues contributing to your pain, if you have pain. And yeah, I'll leave them at that one for now because I could be going all day here on these. But I hope you get the idea that your posture isn't the first thing that needs to be changed, especially when it comes to pain and it comes to like a chronic pain, a pain that's gone on for a long time. Reason being is because if it's been going on for 5, 10, 15 years, 20 years, most likely your body's already adapted to that posture, and what you need to change instead is different things around it. Maybe you need to give yourself more movement options. Maybe you need to build strength in certain positions. Maybe you need to become more mobile. Maybe you need to actually look at the other lifestyle factors that are affecting that pain and taking care of those first before you start interacting with it. And maybe it's that your activity levels are really low because you're tired and you're not sleeping right. And you're not getting out and walking during the day, or you're not getting out for a run every once in a while, or you're not getting into the gym, or you're not doing anything that you enjoy. Okay, when we look at let's say people who work at a computer all day, because I work at a computer all day, so it's not like, right, I'm any different to you, or I'm indifferent to you or your lifestyle. What we need to look at is that what else, if I'm sitting at a computer and I start to get back pain, why am I getting back pain because I'm at the computer? Is it because I'm not exercising or going to the gym? Is it because I'm not working my back into different movements? Is it because I believe that sitting at a desk and on a computer is bad for my back? Huge one that needs to be addressed if it is. Is it because I hate my job and I hate sitting at a computer and hate working? Okay, another huge one that needs to be addressed. If you really dislike your job and you feel that back pain is caused from you sitting at the computer and you need to get a standing desk instead, may not be the best option. The best option may be to look for a different job, okay? Because although you might get rid of it for a small while, you're not taking care of the underlying issue of you not liking your job, and as a result, the body just being in this high alert state all the time. So I guess I'll leave you on that, is that if you want to change your posture, then do, definitely. Look for one that is favorable. If you're changing your posture, you have to change your mindset around it too. Okay, you're not changing your posture because one's bad. You're changing your posture because you want to be more confident. You want to look stronger. All right, they're the reasons that you change your posture mostly, as opposed to just, I'm going to change it because it's bad for my back to have it this way. If you are sitting slumped at a desk all day and you're thinking that's the reason, well, first thing I would say is first get up and move around every 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Maybe just do some basic rotations, go down touching your toes, extending back, looking up towards the ceiling. Maybe you need to correct your sleep because you could be staying up late at night, and then when you're just fatigued in the morning all day, you're only getting 5 or 6 hours of sleep, and you have to try to sit at a computer and focus all day, and that's just taking so much of your energy to do that. That pain will kick up at a lower threshold when you're fatigued. So that's a huge one that needs to be addressed. And as I said, if it's a job issue, you're going to have to look at that as well. I can't give you advice on job changes, but I can tell you that it could be contributing to your pain if that's something you don't like. But yeah, that's, I think, really all I wanted to cover today. I don't want to go into too much more depth on anything. I kind of wanted to just give you an overview of my thoughts on posture, really what the research is saying now in terms of like, is posture causing your pain? Most likely not. Is it the first thing you go after? Definitely not. You really look at the other factors first, unless it's an acute injury and it's something that needs changing. Then okay, maybe you can start to change it, or maybe you can look into changing it. Otherwise, you need to figure out the other things that could be going on. But guys, yeah, that's everything, and girls, that's everything I wanted to discuss today and everything I wanted to chat about. I'm going to leave you on that for now, but I want you to think about that. If there's a posture that you want to adopt, okay, let's say you were told to stand up tall with your shoulders back. First off, why do you want to do that? Is it because you look more confident when you do that? Because if it is, then you need to look at confidence, and you need to look at building confidence in certain situations. Because if you're confident in certain situations, it'll be very easy to adopt that posture. Now, there is the other aspect of like doing power poses, and I know a lot of people do this, especially in the corporate world, or especially athletes before they go out, where they hold a big strong pose like the McGregor style pose, where you're just standing as tall and as wide as you can and as strong as you can, because that jacks you up and you get ready to go. Perfect, you can start to do those more. But imagine if you held that throughout the day, how much your confidence would be. So does posture affect confidence, and does confidence affect posture? I think it works both ways. I think there's a kind of a sneaky way there of improving confidence by standing in a better posture. Possibly. Food for thought. But I will leave you on that for now. If anyone is dealing with issues or pain that's going on for a long time, recurring issues or recurring pain, and you want to get back playing sport and you want to get back to activity, definitely send me a message and we can jump on a call and chat through it. There's no point leaving it off any longer, especially if you are missing out on something that you want to do. And I've noticed this with a lot of clients that have jumped on with me recently, have the same opinion of they were just leaving it off too long and they don't want to leave it till later in life and miss all the time that they could do or could play sports and enjoy themselves with different activities now and have to clear it up later. So if that's something, if that sounds like you, if that resonates with you, definitely just send me an email at mobilitytutor@gmail.com, or if you want to, go on my Instagram page. There is a contact form there, so that's Mobility Tutor, and you just click the coaching inquiry, fill it out, and I will get back to you and we'll jump on a quick call to talk through everything. But to leave you on that, all I would say is, if you wouldn't mind, I would love if you could rate it on iTunes and Spotify, because you can rate on Spotify now, from my understanding. And I'd love if you could leave a comment or even just share it on your story. Sharing it on your story is a huge one for getting the podcast name out there, and I'll know which episode you'd like to hear more of. But that is all from me today, guys and girls. Thank you so much for listening, and I will chat to you all again soon. Have a good one.